Groundhog Day. If you're watching this live, February 2nd, I looked it up on the internet, and Phil, he did see his shadow. So 6 more weeks of winter, but no worries. It's a sunny morning, even though it's cold. So we are going to get started. Maybe your muscles are a little bit cold. Maybe your low back. Today's practice is for you then. Today's practice is all about the low back muscle that we talk about pretty frequently in yoga, the QL, Quadratus Lumborum. I describe it as a diagonal muscle from the 12th rib, center of the body, going at a kind of diagonal to the top of the iliac crest. I have a picture. Let me show you the picture. So this includes not only the Quadratus Lumborum there in green, but it also shows the 3 groups of the iliopsoas. There's another recorded practice on this group that talks about poses for the iliopsoas, the psoas minor, psoas major, and the iliacus, which is right located at the iliac crest. So it's all in that same area. So if you have issues with your low back, check out that previously recorded class for the psoas, but also stay on for today's, which is going to focus on the QL, Quadratus Lumborum. Let's start with a hand gesture though. We talked about it in Groundhog Day, and spring is coming. Maybe 6 more weeks of winter. Maybe that's just for the folks up in Pennsylvania. Maybe we'll have an earlier spring. So let's talk about spring being our hand gesture. From the American Sign Language, the gesture for the word spring. Take one hand and make a C shape and hold it horizontally. Take your other hand as if it was a little seed underneath the seed and grow through it twice, sprouting your little seed. Sprout and sprout. Give it a shake. Let's do it one more time. Make a C shape, horizontal, and now sprout and sprout. Spring, springtime. Let's warm up the spine. I'm backing up so you can see me head to toe. Oh, props for today. Let me mention the props today. I have a rolled up towel on the floor. We're going to sit on that. So it's a bath towel, so I get a little bit of height. You could use a hand towel, but probably the size of a bath towel is a little bit better. And the other prop that we're going to use just for one pose is a tennis ball. If you don't have a tennis ball, you could use a massage ball, a lacrosse ball, any other round surface. If you have nothing like that in your house, no worries, you don't actually have to do that. It's a little self-myofascial release. But I found that the size of a ibuprofen plastic bottle, it's a little bit squishy, like the tennis ball, it has a little bit of give, but it's not glass, it's not going to break, and it doesn't have liquid inside that might ooze out. So this is another option. I'll show both of these when we get to that point. We'll be lying on our side. The last thing is we're going to use a doorway. So if you have a doorway in your field of view, great. If not, no worries. I will show a variation that's just against a wall, but you get a deeper stretch if you have a doorway. So I'll show 3 variations of that particular pose. And again, that's just one pose. So now let me back up so we can do our spinal warm-up. Let's set up our mountain pose. Tennis ball distance between your big toes. Line everything up over the heels, knees, hips, shoulders, ears. Shoulder blades into the back pockets, and you are in your beautiful mountain pose. And guess what? You are already giving a benefit to your low back by coming into a beautiful posture. So think about creating that good habit of great posture, and you are going to help your low back. So think about pinching that pencil between your shoulder blades. That always helps. Let's start off with a little dynamic warm-up. In mountain pose, pretend there's a bunch of apples right above your head on an apple tree, and pick the apples one at a time. So we're already stretching that QL muscle. Every time we stretch the side body, we're getting a benefit for that QL. And if we add the enhancement of a side body stretch with flexion, you're going to increase that stretch for the QL. Do one more each arm, last 2 apples, release, and now let's go into our spinal warm-up, all 7 spinal positions. Elongation, both arms reaching up to the apple tree, and then float the arms down. Do that again. Inhale, stretch as high as you can. If you want, bend the knees a little bit. Add a little lower body activation, waking up those thigh muscles. Let's do one more. And release. Standing cat and cow. Exhale, round your back. Bend the knees, bend the hips, tuck the chin. Inhale, reverse the curve. Pinch the pencil between your shoulder blades. Go at your own pace now. Standing cat, standing cow. Flexion and extension. Warming up that spine. Do this every day. Create that greater range of motion. Exaggerate the ocean's wave here. One more. And release. Going into lateral flexion. Go ahead and separate your feet a little bit wider than your hips. We're going to do both arms together. Hands come up and just start laterally flexing the body. Again, and all these lateral flexions are helping to stretch the QL. The theme for today's practice, by the way, was a suggestion. So if you have a body part that wants a little focus, a little love, let me know in the comments or send me a message. One more each side. And release. And now let's find, before we do let's do the rotation first, and then let's find that QL with our thumbs. But let's rotate first. Come into cactus arms here. You can leave your feet a little bit wider than your hips as they are. Draw the elbows back, broaden the chest. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotate right. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotate left. Inhale, center. Twice more each side. To the right and center. To the left and center. Last pair. Release to center and release. Roll those shoulders back. Take your thumbs now, and I'm going to show the picture one more time. So there's that picture again. All right, so see that little white curve there? That's what you should be looking for, the iliac crest. So just find that little part of your body, that little bony structure there, and now come up a little bit and in a little bit. Not all the way into your spine. Just find that little part of your muscle there, your QL muscle. And now just tilt side to side again, that lateral flexion. And see if you can feel that muscle with your thumbs. All right. Remember that spot, because when we later use the tennis ball, you're going to want to remember where that Quadratus Lumborum, that QL, is located. All right. Let's go into another lateral flexion, this time a static lateral flexion. This is a deeper lateral flexion that will hold. If you want, you can keep your feet parallel, placing your right hand on your right thigh and coming into your lateral flexion with parallel feet. Or for the deeper stretch, getting a deeper stretch down the side body, take your left foot behind, not a curtsy, just barely behind. Right hand on that right thigh, and now come into your lateral flexion. Remember, you can keep the feet parallel. Keep space between your right ear and your right shoulder, dropping that right shoulder down. One more breath cycle. And release. Bring the feet back to parallel. And we'll take it to the other side. Left hand on the left thigh. Again, if your feet want to stay parallel, go right into your lateral flexion. Or you can take that right foot behind the left and come into your lateral flexion. A little deeper stretch all the way down the right side body here. Keep space between the left ear and the left shoulder. Relax this left shoulder away from the ear. One more breath cycle. And release. Come back to parallel feet. All right, now is the time we're going to use the doorway. So I'm actually going to use this little pass-through here that I have. It used to be a window when this was the outside of the house. But now it's just a pass-through. So I'm going to use this as a doorway. I could go over here and use this, but then you kind of lose some of my image. It's a little bit better for my screen for me to stay here. So let me show you the options before you move away. Make sure you can still see me, because I will show you the options and then ask you to move to your wall or your doorway. So first option is you don't even have to use a doorway. You can come into a supported lateral flexion. So bringing both hands to your wall and then push your hips away. So your palms are flat on a wall. and you're just pushing the hips away. Don't allow your left hip to fall inwards. Keep your hips square. That's option one. Option two is to use the doorway. Feet are parallel, and you've got about 18 inches between your right foot and the wall or the door. Bringing your hands across. Again, you want to push the hips away. You're getting a deep stretch down the left side body, creating a bow shape or a banana shape with your body. Third option is to go a little bit deeper, just like we did when we were standing without the support of a wall or a doorway, is to take the left foot slightly behind, bring the hands to your doorway or pass through, and push the hips away. All right, so now you've seen your three options: supported lateral flexion at the wall, parallel feet lateral flexion, or step behind. Go ahead and go to your doorway or wall, and let's all come into that pose. And we're going to hold it for a count of 10. So I'm going to do the third one, just placing one foot behind. Keep the hands at the height of the shoulders. If your hands are too high up, you're going to stretch across the shoulder and not across this QL muscle. So keep the hands at shoulder height, and now come into your bow shape, supported against the wall or hanging off the doorway. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lift up out of the pose. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to turn around. You can see the back view of the pose. You can go to a different wall or a different doorway, whatever is good for you. You don't have to look at your screen. You know what it looks like now. So I'm just going to turn around and show those same three options: supported lateral flexion against the wall, parallel feet hanging off the doorway, or stepping one foot behind, hanging off the doorway. Come into your position now, and I'm going to be counting down from 10 again. So coming into your position, create the bow shape with your body, keep the hips square, counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift up out of the pose. Walk away from your doorway or your wall and come back to your spot on your mat. We're going to go into a little sequence here of side angle and triangle, intense side stretch, also called pyramid, and downward facing dog. So let's step the feet wide on the mat. Turn your right toes off to the right. Line up your knee over the second toe. Push your left heel back. Line up your heels on the balance beam. Keep that left pinky toe pushing into the mat, but don't grab the mat with your toes. And now slide down with the torso, letting your right arm rest on the right thigh. And lift that left arm up to the sky or over the ear. In extended side angle with the arm over the ear. Getting a deep stretch down the side body. Wiggle those fingers, reach towards the ceiling, that intersection between the wall and the ceiling. One more breath cycle. And lift up out of the pose, core strength. Keep your legs as they are. We're going to transition to triangle. So straighten out the front knees. Both legs are straight. I'm going to show it without any props. If you want to use a prop like a block to put your right hand on a block, you can, or you can use your leg. Extend the arms into a T, and now tilt the body, bringing that right hand down in front of the right thigh. You can stay here. This is baby triangle. Or you can start to slide that hand just below the knee. If you need a prop, if you have a block and you want to place your right hand on a block, you can. Or maybe you can get down closer to that ankle or foot, keeping that left arm straight up to the ceiling. Stretching that QL area. One more breath cycle. Keep the torso low and just sweep that left arm down to the right leg. Look down at your toes. And we're going into pyramid pose. Intense side stretch. If your stance is too wide, you can inch your back foot in a little bit. You can keep your hands on your leg, or you can bring your TP fingertips to the earth. Drawing that chest a little closer by bending the elbows. And now bow the head. Look at that left foot behind you. Intense side stretch. Stretching the right hip, right outer calf, right outer thigh, and right low back. One more breath cycle. Bend the front knee. We're going to transition to downward dog. So lift your back toes, rotate the left foot so the toes point to the skinny end of your mat. Plant your palms flat on the mat. We're going to step that right foot back. Bend the left knee, step the right foot back. Both knees are bent in a little crouch position. Then exhale the hips up to the sky. Lift up through the armpits. Press your thigh bones into your legs. If you want, you can add a little yes or no gesture with your head. Keep the ears close to the arms. Lifting through those armpits. Breathe. Add a prancing motion if you like. And now soften both knees. Walk towards your hands. Bend both knees and slowly roll up. Head comes up last. Roll the shoulders back. And we'll do that same sequence on the opposite side. I'm going to the opposite end of my mat so you can see me. No, I'm sorry. We're going to start in the center and step wide. Go ahead, start in the center, step wide. Turn your left toes off to the left. Align that left knee over the second toe. Kick your right heel back. Line up your heels on the balance beam. Energize those thigh muscles by actively thinking about the alignment of this left knee. Start to lower your torso towards the left thigh and extend your right arm up to the sky. You can stay here or go for the deeper stretch, arm over the ear, extended side angle. Breathe. Keep that right pinky toe engaged, but don't grab the mat with the toe tips. One more breath cycle. Core strength lifts you up. Keep your legs as they are. We're going to go into our triangle pose. We'll rest between side angle and triangle. Straighten the front knee. Extend your arms into a T. If you want to use your block, go ahead and put it in place or have it within reach. And now start to tilt that left hand down in front of the left thigh, right hand straight up to the sky. Breathe, getting some length in the right side body. If it's accessible, you can place that hand just below the knee. Remember, don't bear weight on that straight left leg. You're just gently touching the back of the hand to the inner part of the leg. If it's accessible, you can either go for your block or down to the ankle. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Breathe. Keep a little bit of softness in that left knee. Don't hyperextend. One more breath cycle. And float that right arm down to the left leg. Bow your head. Look at that right foot behind you. If you need to shorten your stance, you can inch that right foot an inch or so closer. If you can, take your TP fingertips down to the earth. Keep looking at that right foot behind you. Intense side stretch, Quadratus. One more breath cycle. And bend that front knee. We're going to go into our down dog. So pick up the back heel, lift and turn. Flatten your hands. Soften your right knee. Step the left foot back. Both knees are soft. And then exhale. Lift up those hips. Lift through the armpits. Press your thigh bones into your legs. If you want, move your head around. Keep the ears close to your arms. Keep lifting through the armpits. And if you want, add your prancing motion. Imagine there's a rip in the center of your mat between your hands and try to separate that rip. Activate those upper body muscles by pulling your hands away from each other, but not really moving them. Just activate the muscles. Pause your prancing. Soften both knees. Walk towards your hands. Keep the knees bent. Slowly roll up Head comes up last. And roll those shoulders back. Good work, my friends. We're going to take it down to hands and knees pose. So this is the time to move your device down to a stack of books or to the floor. All the remaining poses are going to be on the mat. We're not going to stand back up. So go ahead and make sure that you can see your device. I'm going to bring mine a little bit closer to the floor. If you need a support for your knees, you can use that towel that we're going to sit on later. Just open it up, maybe one fold or two. We're going to go into cat and cow. So make big stars with your hands. Line up your wrists under your shoulders, knees under hips. Put a beverage on the back of your neck. And now exhale, cat, round the back. Inhale, cow, drop the belly. Bring the chin forward. Go at your own pace, cat and cow, Marjyasana, Vittalasana. If you want, bend the elbows between the two poses to get a greater range of motion. One more pattern, cat and cow. And then return to neutral spine. We're going to go into lizard. So step your right foot forward. You can help it by grabbing behind the thigh and pulling it forward. And then place both hands to the inside of that right foot. Inch the foot a little bit closer so you have a nice stretch on this left hip flexor. And start to bend and straighten the elbows. And now pause with the elbows bent and bow the head. Look at that left knee behind you. Lizard stretch, Uttanapishtasana. We're going to add a little challenge to our lizard lunge today. Sometimes we lift this back knee. We're going to lift it, but we're going to lower it back down. So it's a lifting and lowering motion. Curl your left toes onto the mat. We'll do it 3 times. Lift the knee, push the heel back, and then lower the knee. Twice more. Lift the knee, push the heel back, lower down. Last one. Lift the knee, push the heel back, lower down. Relax the left toes back onto the mat. We're going to go into twisted lizard. Keep your left hand on the mat. You're going to look away from your screen to take your right hand up to the sky. Breathe. Stretching through that side body again, getting that QL stretch. This is on the right side that we're stretching. One more breath cycle. And bring the right hand down and crawl both hands back towards your left knee, straightening out your right knee, flexing the right foot and keeping the heel on the mat. Coming into half monkey pose, stretching the back of the right leg. Adding a little enhancement here, take your right toes and turn them to the right, just pivoting on that heel. Breathe, one more breath cycle. Toes point up, crawl it forward, and bring that knee back onto your towel or knee pad. We're going to do the same sequence on the opposite side. So take your left foot forward. Again, if you want, you can take your hand behind your thigh and pull it forward. Inch it forward so you've got a little stretch going on that right hip flexor, and place both hands to the inside of the left foot. Start to bend and straighten the elbows, bow the head, look at the right knee behind you, and then pause with the elbows bent. Keep looking at that right knee behind you and feel that stretch all the way around the left thigh, top, bottom, inner, outer, as well as the left hip and left low back. We're going to add that little challenge sequence, curl the right toes onto the mat, and we're going to lift and lower that knee 3 times. Lift the right knee, push the heel back, and lower it back down. Second time, lift the knee, push the heel back, lower down. Last one, lift the knee, push the heel back, lower down. Relax the right toes back onto the mat. Straighten the elbows, and we'll twist our lizard. Keep your right hand on the mat. Lift your left arm to the sky. Lift up out of that right shoulder. Don't sink onto the shoulder. Breathe, stretching the left side body here, left QL. One more breath cycle. And bring that hand down, walk both hands back towards that right knee, straightening the left, flexing the left foot, and keeping the heel on the mat. Adding that little variation, take your left toes, point them to the left, just pivoting on that heel, deepening the stretch on the outer part of the left leg, outer calf, outer thigh. One more breath cycle. Point the toes back to the ceiling, crawl forward and tuck that foot back, bringing your knee back onto your towel or pad, sink it back into child's pose. And we're going to add the variation of child's pose that includes that QL stretch, rotation. Walk both hands to the left edge of your mat, push your hips to the right, bow your head, let your head rest against your right shoulder or your right arm. Sink that right hip a little deeper. Imagine there's a magnet under your mat pulling that hip down towards the earth. Stretching that QL muscle. One more breath cycle. And we take it to the opposite side. Let the head rest against the right arm or right shoulder. Let that left hip feel heavy, heavy, heavy towards the mat. One more breath cycle. And pull it back to center. We're going to go into one-legged plank stretch. So pull yourselves back into your table and step your left foot back, curling the toes onto the mat. Keep the ball of the foot on the mat and push the heel away and bring it back. Just rocking back and forth on the ball of the foot, stretching the plantar on the left foot. We're going to be transitioning this into bird dog and also gate pose. So pause that rocking motion, float that heel up. It could be just a few inches off the earth, or you can bring that heel up to the height of the hip. Flex the foot so the toes are pointing straight down. Lift up out of your shoulders. Now we're strengthening the back body muscles. You can stay here, both hands on the mat, or add the balance component. Right arm reaching forward, keep lifting up through that left shoulder. And we'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the hand down, bring the toes down. And now take those left toes and sweep them out to the side of your mat and lower the heel. And you're going to gate pose facing the skinny end of our mat. So crawl your hands back towards your right thigh, onto the thigh, lifting the chest. Extend the arms out into your T. Push the pinky toe down into the earth. And we'll go into gate pose 3 times. Relax the shoulders. Draw that left hand down in front of the left thigh. And take your right arm over your head. Lateral flexion. Back to your T shape with your arms. Second time. Lateral flexion. Gate pose. Parigasana. Back to your T. And one more time. Gate pose, this time we hold. Keep breathing and count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release out of gate pose. Bring your hands down, soften the knee, and bring the knee back to your towel or pad. Take a child's pose. Breathe. We're going to do that same sequence on the other side. I'm going to turn around because if I don't, in gate pose, I'll hit this furniture with my leg. If you don't have any furniture behind you, you can stay where you are, whatever works for your environment. But I'm going to turn and face the opposite end of my mat to do that same sequence. Pull yourselves into your table pose. Spread your hands wide. Step your right foot back, curling the toes onto the mat, and start rocking back and forth, stretching the plantar on the right foot. Pause the motion and float the foot off the mat, flexing the foot, toes are pointing down. And if you can, lift that heel up to the height of the hip. Lift up out of the shoulders, strong back body muscle. And if you want, add the balance component. You don't have to. You can keep both hands on the mat or extend that left arm forward, lifting up out of the right shoulder. And we're holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hand down, toes down. And now sweep the toes off to the right and lower the heel. Crawl your hands back towards your left thigh, onto the thigh, lift the chest, and then lower the pinky toe down onto the earth. Your chest is looking off towards the skinny end of your mat, and we extend your arms out into a T, going into gate pose again 3 times. Inhale, exhale, bring that right hand down, left arm over the head, stretching the left side body, and then come back into your gate pose, into your T shape. Second time, gate pose. And now inhale, lift it up to your T. One more time, and we hold this one. Come into your gate pose. Stay here, keep breathing, and we're counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift back to your T. Bring both hands down to the earth as you soften the knee. Bring your knee down and take a child's pose. Breathe. That finishes up our hands and knee poses. So now we're going to come to a seated pose. So lift up out of that pose. You can move your towel off to the side. We're going to start in staff pose. We're going to use the towel in just a second though. So keep it close. Coming into your staff pose, long legs in front. Move the fleshy part of your bottoms away from your sits bones. Sitting tall, erect posture. Remember, that posture is helping your low back already. We're going to go into a little twisting motion here, and then lateral flexion, some more spinal mobility poses. Bring your arms to cactus arms. Push the elbows back. Lift the rib cage and keep your shoulders relaxed. Inhale, center. Exhale, turn towards your right. And center and left. And center. Twice more each side. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Last pair. To the right and center. To the left and center. Release. And we'll go into lateral flexion again. The same thing we did standing up, but now we're just doing it sitting, just focusing on the upper body instead of worrying about the lower body muscles. So take your right hand down to the earth. We'll start with motion and then we'll add the static again, just like we did standing up. So ease over the head and back to the ceiling. Do a couple at your own pace here. One more with motion. And next one we'll hold. Come into your lateral flexion. Maybe bend that right elbow. Maybe you can bring that elbow all the way down to the earth. If that makes your left hip pull up off the mat, then keep that elbow elevated off of the mat. You pick. One more breath cycle. And lift up. Switch into the opposite side. Place your left hand down to the mat, right hand to the sky, and start that motion of lateral flexion, stretching the side body. One more. And the next one we hold, static lateral flexion. If you want, you can bring that elbow down to the earth, but maintain connection, right sit bone to the mat. If your right sit bone lifted up, then come back up with the elbow. Listen to your body. One more breath cycle. And lift up out of the pose. Roll those shoulders back. And now we're going to sit on a towel. So go ahead and grab your towel. I've got mine folded over a couple times, so it's a couple inches in height. And then set your hips on there. So this is just going to help your posture. We're going to come into easy pose, Sukhasana, which is just a cross-legged pose. Doesn't matter which leg is in front. Whichever leg you decided to put in front, this is your more flexible position. You probably just selected that without even thinking about it. So easy sit pose. And we're going to add a little walk forward with the fingertips. So place your fingertips on the earth. And we'll do a little creepy crawly forward. Listen to your body. Once you have some tension going on and you feel like you can't go any further, then go ahead and stop there. If you've got a little bit more to give, go ahead and go to the point where you have the stretch going, but you're not feeling any pain. No pain here. You can bow your head. And we're going to walk the hands over to the right. Creepy crawly, the hands over to the right. Maintain the connection. The left sits bone to the towel. Bow the head. Breathe. And now walk over to the left. Creepy crawly, those fingertips all the way over to the left. Maintain the connection. Right sits bone to the earth. Bow the head. Relax the back of the neck. Come back to center. Walk back towards your body. And now it didn't matter which leg was in front because now we're going to do the other side. So go ahead and change the leg that's in front. And you'll notice on me immediately that this is my less flexible side. This knee is no longer touching the mat when it became the front leg. No matter what I do, it pops right back up. And that's okay. Don't force anything. Sit tall and start to creepy crawly your fingers forward. Go to the point where you are feeling the stretch but no pain. And once again, we'll walk those hands over to the right. And then walk the hands over to the left. Return the hands to center. And lift the chest back up. We're going to go into bound angle pose here. We're going to stay on the towel. Go ahead and bring your feet together. Depending on the flexibility of your inner thigh and groin muscles, your feet might be further away from you or they might be closer. You pick. And you don't have to place your hands on the outsides of your feet because we are going to add a lateral flexion. So go ahead and place your right hand on the earth. Bring your left hand up to the sky and then laterally flex. Reaching over the head in bound angle pose. And now we're going to take that right arm and thread it in front of the abdomen like we're holding a giant ball, like a world in front of us. So right hand is pushing left, left hand is pushing right. Breathe. Release. Keep your arms holding that ball. And we'll do that twice more. Laterally flex. Take 2 breath cycles. And release. Still holding the ball. One more time. Laterally flex. And release. Release your hands for a moment, and we'll do that on the opposite side. So go ahead and start with your left hand in position on the mat, right hand to the sky. Start your lateral flexion with support. Now we're going to take away the support, using more core muscles here. Take your left hand across your abdomen, reaching off to the right, holding your giant world in front of you. Left hand pushing right, right hand pushing left. 2 breath cycles. And then up, keep holding your giant world. And we'll do that twice more. Laterally flex, keep breathing, 2 breath cycles. And then up, last time. Laterally flex. And release. Release your hands. Send your legs forward. And we're going to come off of our towel now. So that towel was in place while we had our feet close to our body in that bound angle pose and Sukhasana or easy pose. And now we're going to go into half lower to the fishes, a little baby stretch. Draw your right foot in, step it across, If that is uncomfortable for your abdominal cavity, then you can stay here with a foot to the inside of the left leg. You pick. Lift up through the shoulders, turn and hug that knee into your body. Ribcage lifted, shoulders relaxed. Targeting a stretch in that outer right thigh, down into the hip, and also a little bit into the low back. You want more in the low back, you say? Of course, this is a class all about the QLs. So take that right hand and place it on the mat behind you, deepening their twist, deepening the stretch. Feel that change in that QL muscle by placing your hand either on the mat behind you or maybe even all the way behind your body, placing the back of the hand to your low back. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And release. We'll do that stretch on the other side as well. So changing the legs, draw your left foot in. If it's okay for your abdominal cavity, cross it over. If not, keep it on the inside of the right leg. Lift up through the rib cage, relax the shoulders, turn and hug that knee into your body. Targeting a stretch on the outer left thigh, into the left hip and the left low back. And of course, if you want that deeper QL stretch, take your left fingertips and either touch the mat behind your hip or bring the back of the left hand to your low back. Keep those shoulders relaxed and the rib cage lifted. One more breath cycle. And spiral back to face front. Extend both legs forward. And we are going to go into head to knee pose with several variations today. So draw that right foot in again and lower the knee down. Join that foot against the inner left leg. It could be closer to the ankle or closer to the groin. You pick. Going into the regular version of head to knee pose, Shanushirsasana, placing the hands below the left knee, draw the elbows down, and ease the head towards your left toes. You can bow the head, but keep reaching the head towards the left toes. Targeting a stretch in the right hip, right low back, right outer thigh. And we'll start with our traditional variation that we do with the rotated head to knee pose. Taking your right arm as if you were going to hug someone. Start to lift the elbow up. Fingers are just hanging down. And now we've targeted that diagonal muscle from the 12th rib down to the iliac crest. Breathe. And now take these right fingers that are floating in the air and take them down to the outside of the left leg and add a little push, a little resistance. Keep your face turned towards the right. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And now look down at the knee again. We're going to go into lateral flexion here with our legs in the same position. So take your right arm and let it rest on your bent right knee. Take your left arm over your head. Reaching, reaching, reaching. Now we're stretching the opposite side body. And to enhance this stretch, start to bring your hand down and turn your head to look past that bent knee, slightly behind you, reaching slightly behind that right bent knee. Don't let your left sits bones come off of the earth. Breathe. And now return to head to knee pose. Slowly lift your body up. And we're going to go into 90-90 pose, also called pinwheel. So take your right foot, that right now is forward of your groin, and take it behind, making the letter L. Now, if this causes your hip to lift up and it's uncomfortable, use your towel and just tuck it underneath that hip to give you a little support. And now take your left leg and bring that into a 90 position as well. So pinwheel pose or 90-90. Take your left hand to the mat, right hand to the sky. And we're going to go into lateral flexion again, reaching over and then come back up. Twice more, over and up. Third third one we hold. Over, stay here, and now to deepen the stretch, start to reach at a diagonal in front of your left hand. A little deeper, one more breath cycle. And then release out of that pose, sending both legs forward. Go ahead and move that towel out of the way if you were using it. And we'll do that same sequence of all those different head to knee poses and the finishing of the 90-90 pose. So draw your left foot in, tuck it against your right inner leg, adjust for your body. Could be closer to the ankle or closer to the groin. Fold from the hip crease, let your hands come below the right knee, draw the elbows down. The basic version of head to knee pose. Keep the head reaching towards the toes. And we'll add the rotated version of head to knee pose. Left arm comes in front, you're hugging someone, elbow reaches up, you're gazing off towards the left. Remember, if your elbow doesn't come up as high as mine, that's okay. Your elbow might be here, but you're still gazing off towards the left. Breathe. One more breath cycle. Keep everything the same except your left fingers are going to come down towards the outside of your right leg and add resistance. Still gazing off towards the left. One more breath cycle. And now release, bringing that chest back towards the thigh and lifting the body up. We're going to go into our lateral flexion here. So let your left arm rest on that bent left knee and bring the right arm over your head, stretching the right side body again. So in these poses here, as we're doing variations, we're switching from stretching the right QL and stretching the left QL without changing the legs. Let's add that little variation. Start to turn your torso down towards that left knee. Reach your hand over the left knee and then slightly behind, adding that little turn to the back. Breathe. Keep that right sits bone on the earth. One more breath cycle. And lift up out of that pose. Going into 90-90, take your left foot, tuck it behind, and now again, you might want your folded up towel to tuck under that left hip to give you some support. Bend your right knee, we're in pinwheel pose. Place your right hand on the earth, left hand to the sky. We're going to lateral flexion 3 times. Reaching over the head and back up. Second time over the head and back up. Third one we hold. Breathe. Now start to look off towards the right. Reach your arm at a diagonal in front of that right hand. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And release the arms. Swing both legs forward. And move that towel out of the way. We are going to go into a little half roll back, getting a little flexion going here in the spine. And then if you want, progressing to rolling like a ball for a little massage. Totally up to you. You don't have to roll like a ball. I'm turning sideways to you. Hands on the sides of your knees. Knees are bent. Spine is tall. Exhale, C-shape the spine. Inhale, straighten it up. You got twice more. Exhale, half roll back. Inhale, lift up. One more time. Exhale. And inhale. You can continue doing that same pattern of half roll back. Or if you want, start to curl into your C shape. Lift the feet. Roll like a ball. And then come back up, landing the feet. You pick. You don't have to come all the way down to your spine if that doesn't work for you. If you want to add the challenge of core muscles, float the feet when you come back up. You pick. So whether you're doing half roll back or you're rolling like a ball with planted feet or floated feet, do one more. Everyone, plant your feet, and we're going to lie on our sides. So bring your right elbow down to the mat. Extend your legs long, so knees are not bent. Hips are stacked, so Make sure that your hip isn't rolled back. We're going to stack that top hip onto the bottom hip. And we're going to add a little stretch for the right side body here, just by pressing the forearm into the mat. Your left hand can make a little teepee in front and just keep your hips on the mat. We're not going into side plank. I'm lifting up out of that shoulder and then relax. If you want a deeper stretch, you can place the palm of the right hand on the mat. So the elbow is bent backwards, still using your teepee on your left hand, and now press, deep stretch. Don't roll the hips backwards like this or you're going to lose the stretch. Keep the hips square and relax. One more time. Lift up, stretch, and relax. Bring that elbow all the way down. We're going to use our prop now, our tennis ball, or if you didn't have a tennis ball, show it with the little jar, the plastic jar of ibuprofen. Bend your top leg, placing the foot behind you, and just getting that foot out of the way. You're going to roll slightly back, so you're on the fleshy part of your bottom here, and you're going to find that QL with your prop. Make sure you're not on your spine and you're not on the hip bone. And now take this bottom leg and bend the knee towards you and extend it away. So you're adding pressure on that QL while you're moving this knee up and down. That QL muscle is responsible for hip flexion, so you're flossing the muscle with pressure on it. Do one more. And release. Go ahead and remove your prop and switch over to your other side. Bring your prop with you. Come onto your left elbow. Legs are straight, hips are stacked. Make a teepee with your right hand for stability. And now lift up, pressing that forearm, pressing that elbow, pressing the palm into the earth, stretching the side body, relax. You can stay here on the forearm, or if you want the deeper stretch, come onto your left palm. Keep your right hand there for stability. And now lift up, stretching that left side body. Relax. One more time. Lift up, stretching that side body. Breathe. And relax. Come back onto the elbow. Take that top leg, bend the knee, and place the foot behind the left leg. Find your QL again with your prop. This time I'm using the tennis ball. So you might have to come down a little bit lower. Remember you found it with your thumbs earlier. So get it in position there. Smash the muscle. So you don't want to work just the ends of the muscle with all of our stretches. You want to work the middle as well. So we're smashing that muscle onto the prop, and now tuck and extend. Flossing that muscle. You want to make sure we really work that QL muscle with not just stretches and not just strength. We did some strength with the bird dog, but also self-myofascial release. Get deep. Last one. Release and move that prop aside. One comment about the QL. What makes it tight? Well, here I am on my side. Are you a side sleeper? If you are, if you're a side sleeper, that's great if your hips are stacked. But as soon as you do this and flop that knee, you're setting up asymmetry in your hips. And the leg that's on top, the one that you flopped, that is going to be your tight QL. So if you're a side sleeper and you always sleep on the same side, that is where you're going to get that tight QL from. So if you can, if you are a side sleeper and you do that knee flop thing, instead of doing that, put a thin pillow between your knees, or you could even use a rolled up towel to try to keep your knees stacked and keep those hips stacked instead of doing this asymmetrical flop thing. That is not a good sleeping position for 6 to 8 hours, so you want to avoid that. All right, let's lie on our backs and finish off our last 5 minutes with some supine poses. You don't need any props for this. Down all the way onto your back. Knees are bent, feet are flat. Walk the feet towards your hips. And you can grab or brush the heels with your fingertips. We are not going to go into bridge pose, but we are going to do some pelvic tilts here. So same thing as if we were going to bridge pose. We want to think about all those cues. Upper arms pressing down into the mat, activate. Heels and the balls of the feet pressing into the mat, activate. Imaginary balloon between your knees, press on the balloon, engage those inner thighs. And now don't lift your hips, but tilt the pelvis. Everything's pressing, and then relax. Everything relaxes. We do that 4 more times. Press the upper arms, press the feet, press the balloon. Tilt the pelvis, and relax. Arms, feet, balloon. Inhale, tilt. Exhale, relax. Twice more. Arms, feet, balloon. Inhale, tilt. Exhale, relax. Last one. Arms, feet, balloon. Inhale, tilt. Exhale, relax. Hug the knees. Add a little sway. Massage the back body. Then we'll go into our windshield wiper motion. Plant the feet flat. Feet are wide as the mat here, wider than the hips. Arms can be out of the way if you're in cactus or a T or on the belly. And then just start rocking those knees side to side. I'm going to move my hips just slightly so I don't hit this furniture behind me. So I'm at a little bit of a diagonal. One more to each side. And wherever you are, hold the knees to the left. With your feet wide, your left foot is close to your right knee. If you want that deeper stretch, pick up your left foot and place it on top of the right outer thigh. You're getting a stretch on the IT band and all the way into that QL here. One more breath cycle. Place that left foot back on the earth and go back into your windshield wipers. And next time your knees are over to the right, hold to the right. Your right foot is close to your left knee. If you want the deeper stretch, pick up the foot, place it on the outside of that left thigh, stretching all the way down the IT band and into that QL area. One more breath cycle. Place the right foot back onto the earth. Inhale the knees back up to the ceiling, pointing the knees to the ceiling. And we're going to go into figure 4 stretch. So walk your feet back to that hip distance apart, tennis ball distance between your big toes. Pick up your left foot and place it above your right knee. Add a little push and then release. And now pick up your right foot so you can reach behind. Pull that right leg closer to your body. Relax the shoulders down, targeting that deep stretch in the hip, piriformis, gluteus medius. And if you picture your body right now with that flexion and picture where that QL muscle is, you are lengthening that QL muscle here as well. Breathe. Keep your legs as they are, one crossed over the other, but release your hands from the right leg, letting the right foot come down to the earth. And now take this left foot and push the left foot down to the mat as well. So a little variation on open belly twist here. One more breath cycle. And go ahead and lift those legs back up, uncross, and we'll go for the other side. Pick up your right leg, bring the right foot above the left knee. Take your right hand, give one push, and then release. Draw those hands behind the left thigh. Draw the thigh closer to your body, and relax the shoulders down. Breathe. Targeting that deep stretch on the right hip this time. Piriformis, gluteus medius, and the QL. Picture it. Picture how your back body is curved here in flexion. And we're stretching that QL. Take one more breath cycle here. Keep your legs crossed. Release. Lower this right foot down to the earth. Variation of open belly twist. Inhale, lift the legs back up. Uncross, hug both knees into your chest, and a little sway. We're going to finish off with just a few relaxing breaths. So go ahead, you can either stay here if this feels good, or you can come into corpse pose, long legs, or lie on your side. Don't flop that knee over, keep your hips stacked. Or any other pose that you find comfortable. I'm sitting up just to project my voice. Serving your body, we did a lot for the low back and QL today, really focusing on that QL with poses that involve lateral flexion and twisting and regular flexion. Visualize that muscle. Take 2 more breath cycles. And return to a seated pose. My quote today, if you're watching me live, today is Groundhog Day. And as I mentioned at the beginning, Phil, he saw his shadow, so he headed right back into the hole for 6 more weeks of winter. But that will be followed by spring, hopefully earlier than 6 weeks. We started with that springtime hand gesture, so my quote is also about spring. It's an English proverb, and it's written that no matter how long the winter, spring is sure to follow. Yes, it will, my friends. Bring your hands outside your hips. Inhale to the sky. Thumbs touch your mind, your spirit breath in your body. The spirit in me honors the spirit in all of you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. I hope your low back and QL area feels great. And again, if you have another theme for me, send me a message or send a comment. Until then, keep breathing.